Thank you for joining me. This week we're going to talk about just how big do carpet pythons really get. Alright, so everybody's heard the old wives' tales about carpet pythons exceeding 10 feet and being wildly large, aggressive, arboreal, man-eating machines. We all hear that. And in fact, it's not too far of a stretch when you've got folks in Australia posting photos like this, finding some wild carpets that are pretty sizable and hefty. So they can get a decent size. But when you ask somebody, how big do they get? If they haven't worked with them and they don't keep them, chances are they're going to tell you they get 8, 10, I've even heard 12 feet. So today, my one objective is to dispel that rumor, that myth, that misconception once and for all. So some of the largest carpet pythons that we typically think of are our Centralian Pythons, Morelia bredli. These guys are found in the center of Australia, kind of in the Alice Springs area, where it's often referred to as the Red Center, and it's a bit of an island within itself. And these animals are known to get pretty good size. Under the right conditions, with ideal food, shelter, safety, and all of that, these animals certainly can achieve what are referred to as genetic maximums. So their DNA codes what is potential for them to reach as far as size goes. And that can only happen if everything works out. They get plenty of food. But in the wild, there's nobody regulating that, and they have to be pretty opportunistic. So occasionally you will see some large ones being relocated that seem to have done really well. That being said, we can predict or control kind of just how big these animals can get based on our feeding regimen. So they don't have to be these massive, monstrous, fat, obese animals. Unfortunately, a lot of the hobby has gotten into the cookie cutter stuck mentality of feeding every week, and that's exactly how you'll get obese, overfed large animals. So this female Bristles could reach lengths of 8 feet or even more. Sometimes that does happen, but I wanted to start by showing you this little baby, and then let's take a look at an adult female of mine that I have, and we'll just see how big she really is. So this is an adult female Bristles Python. And this girl is every bit of 7 feet, maybe more. I don't really measure or weigh my animals that much anymore. It doesn't really benefit me to have that information, but you can see just how big this girl is. She's definitely bigger than I am in length, like she's longer than I am. She can touch the floor, obviously you don't see that, but this is a 5-year-old animal. And this is an animal who's been fed at what I would consider a healthy rate. Being offered food every 2 to 4 weeks based on season, prey size, etc. So this animal could have been, pounded and power fed to reach exceptional lengths, even bigger than what you see right now. But that's just not healthy, and it would ultimately shorten her lifespan. So this girl right now is done feeding for the winter. We ramped up in the fall and just up into winter, and now it's time for her to kind of get ready to cool off for a few months and go without food, which they can do. And that's also really healthy for them to give their vital organs a break. But, if I really wanted to, I could have pounded this girl full of food and she'd be obnoxiously large. Now, how do you tell if your animal is obese? Well, especially with Morelia, they need to have this big, boofy head. These muscles right here, they should have a really distinct head to neck ratio. You should be able to see that. So it should really cut back into the neck. If you've got an animal whose head and neck just kind of come together, like how all these retic breeders fatten them up and they look like they've got double chins and stuff, you have an obese animal. These animals are built for bust and boom. So make sure you give them that sort of natural break in their digestive system. Give them some time to relax. But yeah, they can be big, but they don't need to be big, like monster big. So again, this animal is maybe a little over 7 feet. It's probably my longest carpet python, longest Morelia. So I would say this is a big girl. That being said, I've seen larger, and yet again, you don't need to aim for that. This animal is perfectly healthy. She's a capable breeding adult at this size, and there's no reason to push it beyond that. Let's take a look at another example of an animal that's big that totally defies those 10-foot rumors, we'll say. All right, another member of our Morelia genus that people often consider the big beast that we hear of in these fables and rumors is our coastal carpet python. Right here is an axanthic coastal female, a proven breeder. She's about 4.5 years old. Good size to her, but she's much smaller than that Centralian python we just looked at. She still has that big boofy head, the definition between neck and head, so she's not overfed, good muscle tone. She's thick, prepping for another breeding season, but this is big. This is a big girl. She doesn't need to be any bigger than this, and I could have certainly pushed for larger length and size if I had been slamming her with food at an early age at an excessive rate. But obviously, that's not how I roll. I want my animals around as long as they're supposed to be healthy and happy, and this girl is proven. So she doesn't need to be 10 plus feet, and I don't think I could get her to 10 feet if I had gone back and that was my goal. I don't think it'd be possible. Some animals just don't. So, you know, she's about 6.5 feet long, and that's plenty. Definitely not the big 8, 10, 12 foot monsters that people who've never worked with Morelia will tell you they achieve. So these guys are probably one of the top long carpets, long big carpets. So we've looked at our Centralians, we've looked at our coastals. Those are the two that are probably most notorious for being the big monsters we see. But I've got another group of some jungles with some large individuals that we'll take a look at that will also aid in this discussion and dispelling these rumors about these massive sizes that carpets supposedly reach. So let's take a look. All right, and last but certainly not least, if any of you are long-term subscribers to the channel, you'll probably recognize this beautiful black and yellow beastie. This is Azteca, and this is my big jungle girl. I've had this girl for about maybe 6 or so years. Got her as a little yearling and raised her up. Now, in my earlier years of working with Morelia, I definitely was still learning what the healthy, appropriate feeding regimen was. And if I were to go back, I would probably feed this animal a little bit less. That being said, she still has excellent body definition, tone, and everything. She's bigger than she probably needs to be, but she's every bit of 6.5 feet. And although she is big, she still has good definition from her head to her neck. You can see that taper, big, good muscle. Tends to get the winter off of food like everything else, so she'll lean out, and hopefully this year some egg production will help, you know, keep her nice and lean. But as you can see, she's got very good definition. She doesn't have too much back fat, although she is prepping for breeding season, so I want some on there. But she's not an 8-10 foot monster like everybody says as well. She's every bit of 6 feet, maybe a few inches more. And although I definitely have gotten her to a good size, if I'd have fed her slightly smaller meals or just a little bit less, she might not be quite as large in the long run. That being said, she's plenty healthy, gets years off in between breeding, and is just a wonderful, wonderful animal. So again, not a 10 foot monster, not a monster at all, quite a sweet animal, and just a great ambassador and an example of how carpet pythons aren't massive, they aren't mean, they aren't bloodthirsty man-eaters. They're not difficult to work with, and there's something color and size-wise in there for everyone. I have adult female Papuans that are half this size. Males, obviously, you can keep smaller. So if you're at a show or you're talking to somebody and you're kind of trying to figure out if you maybe want to take a dive into Morelia, make sure you ask somebody who knows what they're talking about. Because if you just ask Joe Schmo at a booth at a show or something, they're like, oh, why do you want to work with those? They get 12 feet. Well, that guy clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't know how much more to get into this, but I still hear it in 2020. I still hear it that people think these things are huge, they're mean, they're just monstrous and arboreal and all this stuff. And yeah, they'll climb if you give it to them. But if you put the heat on the floor, they like the floor. If you put the heat up in a tree, they'll find it. So they're hardy, they're adaptable, they're not monsters, they don't get excessive. You can control that healthy growth rate, and you can basically keep them how you want because they're going to roll with it. Let's just take a minute to appreciate this beautiful animal. I mean, look at this. So now you know why I scoff and laugh at any time somebody says, oh, they get huge and they're mean. They're the best. They're the best. They're the right size, they're the right temperament, they're intelligent, they're tolerant, they're hardy, they're beautiful, and there's colors and varieties in all shapes and sizes out there for everyone. So if you've been on the fence about Morelia and some rumor about them being massive and ornery is stuck in your head, I'm hoping that this video will maybe change that for you, because these things are hands down my favorite snakes, just bar none. So get yourself some Morelia. Don't worry about incorrect and false rumors from people who don't know what they're talking about. If you're here, you're obviously looking this up to try and figure this out and learn some more, so you're doing the right first steps. But carpet pythons could be the snake you've always wanted, and you just never looked into them because of a bad rumor. So thank you for joining me this week. I know this is kind of all over the place and a little bit scattered yet short and maybe not very well rehearsed, but that doesn't matter. It's good info and you get to see some pretty cool snakes. So, alright, well, we will catch you next week, probably with some more breeding talk and plans and what's going on, maybe some more updates. And I will catch you all next week. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Put this video out there. Let's dispel these rumors and myths. Let's get real good, accurate information out there. And I will catch you all next week. Don't forget to keep loving your Morelia, folks. Later.